I'm the president of Pacific Northwest Advisory, and I serve as a fiduciary working exclusively with business owners, providing, and this is important, providing independent, unbiased guidance. We have, over the past 25 years, created a private company sales process that incorporates valuation, tax planning, and the modeling of that transaction based on an objective view of the needs of the seller, and understanding, to Lee's point, really deeply understanding what that business owner is wanting to accomplish, and then making certain through our financial analysis, can they get there in this business cycle? And that's something that Lee touched on briefly is, in each individual business, they have their own individual business cycle. And, in a perfect world, as you look ahead for when you're planning to begin to sell the business, you also want to look at your business cycle, because clearly you'd rather be on that upswing as you're looking for buyers rather than on the downswing. And, you can't really control that business cycle, but you can control how you head into it for the specific goal of, striking a deal at a high watermark, or also recognizing that if I can't bring it together, if the right buyer doesn't appear, then I recognize that I'll go through that next trough and be prepared again at that next business cycle if I want that high valuation, assuming that there's no other issues. Prior to forming Pacific Northwest Advisory, I was an executive director at Morgan Stanley for 24 years. And I've been recognized as a top financial advisor by Financial Times, Barron's, Forbes, and have earned the Certified Investment Management Analyst designation. So my role is to shepherd that business owner through the process of selling their business, helping them fill in what I want to call fill in the holes in their management team around a sale, finding experts like Lee and Bob to come in and to focus on their area of expertise to provide that value that we need for that. In Lee's case, understanding what the value is, so that then we now have a sense of, okay, if we were able to sell the company, what is the end result to the buyer, to the seller? What's the dollar amount at the end? And then we can go in and do all kinds of different charitable structures. We can do gifting to try to accomplish some of that buyer's goals, as well as improve the number at the very end. And once we've done that, we then have that ability to then march forward and become much more focused on a formal sale process. And whether that's someone from your industry, whether we need to find an investment banker, a mid-tier investment banker to run a search, really depends on the business cycle, the size of the company, and the goal of the current owners. And then once we pull that together and we've got that team together, then my role is oversight to make sure that the players are on task, that if they say they're going to get things done in 2 weeks, that they're done in 2 weeks, and to be there for when that business owner says, what do I do? Lee has a question, Bob has a question. It's A or B, what do you think we should do? And to be a sounding board, given the experience, to help them navigate through those questions, given their goals, their ultimate goals. And then once the transaction's complete, we build or prior to it being complete, we build an implementation plan, which allows us to, once the transaction's over and the wire from the transaction is in, we have an investment plan, we have an income plan, and essentially the buyer can then head off into the sunset with a monthly check every month, just like it was when they were working. I appreciate having these events with professionals like Bob and Lee. I took a full page of notes as well, and it boils down to process, and it's setting the course for the process. It's understanding there'll be zigs and zags along the way, but where we need those professionals, rather than us doing it ourselves, we reach out, we grab that professional, we get that information. That information comes back into our input, and we're able to then use that on the go forward. It also allows us, and this is something I didn't point out, but it also allows us to, when we bring in a professional, a Bob or a Lee, for instance, we've all worked together on different cases. And so it's we have a camaraderie, we have a connectivity, we know how each other thinks. And so, 1+1 can certainly equal 3. And again, another reason to bring those professionals in at the right place, so that you get a quality of information and a quality of advice that you don't have to think about 3 or 4 steps ahead, and having to worry, well, was that done properly? Did I have the right professional? No, you get the right professional in the beginning, and that lays the groundwork for a positive outcome, which is, of course, a transaction or a gifting or some sort of a transition. If there, we are spot on time. So if there's no other questions, I'll wrap up unless Lee or Bob have any final parting comments. But other than that, I appreciate everybody's attendance, and we look to have another one of these in a couple of months. And if you have any recommendations as topics, by all means, send them our way, because we'd like to continue to provide valuable information that can begin that process of transition, or process of estate planning, or process of making certain that the house is in order, so that if there was some event that occurred that was unexpected, that it wouldn't be pell-mell, it'd be orderly and in control. And most importantly, the heirs of the owners will be taken care of the way the owners wanted them to be taken care of. And that's, I think, probably, the biggest point.